It was supposed to be the perfect escape from everything that had been weighing them down for months. Ian had been stuck in endless deadlines. Bilal was tired of his monotonous routine. Sarah needed a break from constant stress. Hira wanted something adventurous, and Denial just wanted an excuse to get out of the city. A late-night road trip felt like the answer to all of it: freedom, laughter, and a chance to feel alive again. They gathered just after midnight, the city still buzzing but slowly drifting towards silence. The streets glowed under yellow streetlights as Bilal leaned against his car, twirling the keys with a confident grin. "Tonight," he said, "we forget everything. Or regret everything," Sarah joked as she tossed her bag into the back seat. Hira rolled her eyes but smiled. "As long as we don't end up lost somewhere creepy." Denial chuckled. "Relax. The scariest thing we'll face is bad Wi-Fi." They all laughed, the kind of laughter that comes easy when nothing has gone wrong yet. The engine roared to life, and within minutes, they were out on the highway. Music played loudly, windows slightly open, letting in the cool night air. The city lights faded behind them, replaced by long stretches of dark road. The further they drove, the quieter it became. Buildings turned into scattered houses, then into nothing at all. An hour passed, and the road began to feel different. The streetlights disappeared one by one until the only light came from the car's headlights. Tall trees lined both sides of the road, their branches stretching inward like they were trying to close in. The music felt too loud now, almost out of place. Ian glanced at his phone. "That's weird," he muttered. "What?" Bilal asked, eyes still on the road. "There was supposed to be a small town around here," Ian said. "A fuel stop or something. It's not showing up." "No signal?" Sarah asked. Ian shook his head. "Nothing." Hira hugged her arms slightly. "I don't like this road." Before anyone could respond, the GPS screen flickered. The map glitched, spinning for a moment before stabilizing. Then a voice cut through the car. "Take the next left." Bilal frowned. That wasn't the route. "Maybe it's a shortcut," Denial said casually. Bilal hesitated for a second, then turned the wheel. The car moved onto a narrower road, and almost instantly, the atmosphere changed. A thick fog began to spread across the ground, rising slowly, like something alive. The trees grew denser, blocking out even the faintest hint of moonlight. The laughter was gone now. No one spoke. A few minutes later, the headlights caught something ahead. A broken, rusted signboard stood at the side of the road, barely hanging onto its post. As they passed it, the light illuminated the faded words written across it. "Welcome to Shadow Pass." Sarah leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Did anyone else just read that?" No one answered, but they all had. And deep down, every single one of them felt the same thing. They had just taken a turn they were never meant to take. The fog thickened with every passing second, swallowing the road ahead until it felt like they were driving into nothingness. The headlights struggled to cut through it, creating shifting shadows that made the trees seem alive. Inside the car, no one spoke. The earlier excitement had faded, replaced by a quiet, creeping unease that none of them wanted to acknowledge. Then suddenly, Hira gasped sharply. "Stop the car?" Bilal reacted instantly, slamming the brakes. The tires screeched against the road as the car jolted to a halt. Everyone lurched forward, hearts racing. "What happened?" Denial snapped, annoyed but nervous. Hira pointed ahead, her hand trembling. A figure stood in the middle of the road. At first, it looked like just a man, barely visible through the fog. But as the headlights focused on him, details began to emerge. His clothes were old and torn, hanging loosely from his thin frame. One of his arms dangled at an unnatural angle, as if it had been broken and never healed. His head was slightly tilted, and he stood completely still, like he had been waiting. Sarah's voice dropped to a whisper. Why is he just standing there? Ian felt a chill crawl up his spine. This doesn't feel right. Denial tried to laugh it off, though it sounded forced. Probably some local trying to scare people. But even he didn't sound convinced. Bilal hesitated, gripping the steering wheel tightly. Should we help him? Before anyone could stop him, he rolled down the window slightly. Cold air rushed in instantly, far colder than it should have been. Hey! Bilal called out. Do you need help? For a moment, there was no response. Then slowly, the man lifted his head. The movement was stiff, unnatural. And when his face became clear, everyone froze. His skin was pale, too pale. His lips were dry and cracked. But it was his eyes that made Sarah choke back a scream. They were completely black. No whites. No pupils. Just darkness. Ian's breath caught. Close the window, he whispered urgently. But Bilal didn't move. The man took a step forward. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice low and broken, as if it echoed from somewhere far away. Hira pressed herself against the door. Bilal, drive. Please just drive. Instead, Bilal said, almost involuntarily, Do you need a ride? The man's head tilted slightly. Then he smiled. It stretched too wide across his face, revealing teeth that didn't look right. Too many, too sharp. Without asking again, he walked toward the car. Lock the doors, Sarah shouted. But it was too late. The back door clicked open on its own. The man slid inside and sat next to Hira. The moment he entered, the temperature dropped sharply, their breaths becoming visible in the air. Hira froze, unable to move, unable to even breathe properly as she felt his presence beside her. Where do you want to go? She managed to whisper. For a few seconds, there was only silence. Then the man leaned slightly closer. You're already going, he said softly. A pause. Where I died. The car moved again, but the energy inside had completely changed. No music, no jokes, just the low hum of the engine and the sound of uneven breathing. Everyone sat frozen in their seats, painfully aware of the presence behind them. The man didn't move, didn't shift, didn't even seem to breathe. It was as if something lifeless had taken a seat among them. Bilal kept his eyes locked on the road, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. We'll just drop him somewhere ahead, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. No one responded. Ian stared out the window, trying to focus on anything that made sense. That's when he noticed it. Bilal, his voice was low, uncertain. Slow down. Why? Bilal asked, tense. Just slow down. Reluctantly, Bilal eased his foot off the accelerator. Ian pointed ahead. That tree. Everyone looked. A tall, crooked tree stood on the side of the road, its trunk split down the middle and one long branch hanging like a broken arm. It looked oddly familiar. I've seen that before, Sarah whispered. That's not possible, Denial said quickly. We're moving forward. They passed the tree. Silence. 5 minutes later, Hira suddenly gasped. No, 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 no. The same tree stood ahead again. This time, there was no doubt. Bilal's heart began to pound. That's the same one. No. Denial shook his head, panic creeping into his voice. There are lots of trees like that. But even as he said it, he didn't believe it. They passed it again. The air inside the car felt heavier now, suffocating. Sarah grabbed her phone. The GPS. Check the GPS. Ian quickly looked. The screen was glitching violently, the map spinning in circles, the route line twisting into impossible shapes. It's not working, he said. There's nothing, no signal, No direction, nothing. Bilal pressed harder on the accelerator. We just keep going. We'll get out eventually. From the back seat, a soft voice broke the silence. You can't leave. Everyone froze. Hira slowly turned her head. The man was smiling again, his black eyes fixed straight ahead. What do you mean? She whispered, her voice shaking. The man didn't look at her. This road doesn't end, he said calmly. Bilal slammed his foot down, pushing the car faster. The engine roared as the speed increased, the headlights cutting through the fog at a terrifying pace. But the road didn't change. The trees didn't change. The darkness didn't change. And then, the tree appeared again, right in front of them. Bilal's breath hitched. No, that's not possible. He swerved slightly, barely keeping control of the car. We're stuck, Sarah said, tears forming in her eyes. We're actually stuck here. Denial shook his head violently. There has to be a way out. There has to be. But deep down, all of them felt it. The truth settling in like ice in their veins. No matter how far they drove, no matter how fast they went, they weren't going anywhere. They were trapped in something they didn't understand. And in the back seat, the man's smile slowly grew wider. The car suddenly slowed on its own. Bilal hadn't touched the brakes, yet the speed dropped, inch by inch, as if something unseen was forcing it to stop. His foot pressed harder on the accelerator, but it felt useless, like the car was no longer under his control. What's happening? Sarah's voice cracked. I don't know. Bilal shouted, panic breaking through his composure. The car's not responding. The engine made a strained, unnatural sound before the vehicle finally came to a complete stop. Silence. A suffocating, heavy silence. Even the forest seemed dead. Then, from the back seat, the man spoke again. 3 years ago. His voice was calmer now, almost steady. A car came down this road. No one dared to turn around, but every word wrapped tightly around them. They were laughing, he continued. Just like you. Ian felt his chest tighten. Stop talking, he muttered, fear creeping into his tone. They didn't listen, the man said, ignoring him. Sarah swallowed hard. Listen to what? There was a pause. Then slowly something moved behind them. The sound of bones cracking echoed softly inside the car. Hira's eyes widened as she saw it in a reflection of the window. The man's head was turning. Not normally. Not humanly. It twisted further and further until it faced Sarah completely, even though his body hadn't moved at all. To the warning, he whispered. Hira screamed. Bilal tried to restart the car, but the engine refused. The headlights flickered violently, plunging them into darkness for split seconds before flashing back on. And then, the beam of light fell on something ahead. A car. Damaged. Crushed almost beyond recognition. It sat in the middle of the road like a forgotten memory. Stay here, Denial said quickly, though his voice shook. It's probably just an accident. But no one believed that. Bilal slowly opened the door, stepping out as if pulled by an invisible force. The others followed, unable to resist whatever was drawing them closer. The air outside was freezing. Too cold. Their footsteps echoed unnaturally loud as they approached the wreck. The metal was twisted, the windows shattered, the front completely destroyed as if it had slammed into something at full speed. Sarah covered her mouth. This is horrible. Ian moved closer to the front, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. Then he saw it. The number plate. His blood ran cold. No, he whispered. Bilal stepped beside him and froze. It was their number. Their car. Exactly the same. That's not possible, Denial said, backing away. That's not real. But it was. Slowly, as if forced to face the truth, they looked inside. 5 bodies. Broken. Lifeless. covered in dried blood. Hira began to sob. No, no, that's not us.
But it was.
Their faces, their clothes, everything. A distorted reflection of themselves frozen in death. Behind them, the man's voice echoed through the fog. You never left this road. Sarah shook her head, tears streaming down her face. No, we're alive. We're standing right here. The man stepped closer, his presence suffocating. Are you? He asked quietly. The headlights flickered again. For a brief second, everything went dark. And when the light returned, the bodies inside the wreck looked fresh. As if the crash had just happened. As if time had never moved forward. As if they had been standing there ever since. No one spoke. The truth hung in the air, heavy and inescapable, pressing down on them until it felt hard to breathe. Their eyes remained fixed on the wreck, on the bodies that looked exactly like them. Lifeless versions frozen in a moment they couldn't remember, yet somehow felt. Sarah stumbled back, shaking her head repeatedly. This isn't real. This can't be real. But even as she said it, her voice lacked conviction. Ian looked at his own hands, turning them slowly, as if expecting them to disappear. If that's us, then what are we? No one had an answer. The fog thickened around them, curling at their feet and rising slowly, almost like it was alive. The road, the trees, even the sky above felt distant now, like everything was part of something unreal. Then behind them the car engine started. All 5 of them turned at once. Their car, the same one they had just stepped out of. Its headlights flickered on, cutting through the fog, illuminating the broken sign again in the distance. The door on the driver's side creaked open slowly, as if inviting them back inside. Hira grabbed Sarah's arm. We shouldn't go back. But her voice trembled, because deep down they already knew they didn't have a choice. One by one their bodies began to move. Not by their will. Ian tried to resist, his feet dragging against the ground. No, no, I'm not going back there. But something stronger pulled him forward. Bilal's hands twitched as if gripping an invisible steering wheel. Denial walked stiffly, his face pale, eyes wide with helpless fear. Sarah and Hira followed, tears streaming down their faces as they struggled against the unseen force. It didn't matter. They reached the car. The doors slammed shut the moment they were inside. The engine roared louder than before. Bilal's hands locked onto the steering wheel. I can't stop it, he shouted, panic consuming him. I'm not doing this. The car began to move. Slowly at first, then faster. The road stretched ahead, identical, endless, suffocating. Ian tried to scream, but no sound came out. It was like his voice no longer belonged to him. Sarah sobbed silently. Hira shut her eyes tightly, whispering prayers that went unheard. Denial stared ahead, his earlier confidence completely gone. And then, they passed it again. The broken sign. Clear. Unchanged. Welcome to Shadow Pass. A cold realization settled over them once more. This wasn't over. It would never be over. They weren't just trapped. They were part of it now. The car continued forward into the fog, repeating the same path, the same moments, over and over again. Time didn't exist here, only the loop. In the distance, faint headlights appeared. Another car, another group of travelers, laughing, carefree, unaware. Inside their car, Ian's eyes widened in horror as he realized what was about to happen. We have to warn them, he tried to say. But no words came out. Because this time, they weren't the victims anymore. They were the warning. And no one ever listened.